In the cradle of civilization, amidst the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, there exists a legend shrouded in the sands of time. This is the story of Gilgamesh, a demigod of unparalleled strength and a king whose deeds echoed through eternity. His story, etched in cuneiform on clay tablets, transcends millennia, offering insights into the human condition and the quest for meaning. Born of divine lineage, Gilgamesh was fated for greatness from the moment of his birth. His mother, the goddess Ninsun, bestowed upon him the gift of strength and wisdom, blending mortal and immortal in a single being, destined to leave an indelible mark on history. As ruler of the city-state of Uruk, Gilgamesh reigned with unyielding power, his prowess in battle matched only by his insatiable thirst for glory. Yet, beneath his formidable exterior lay a heart yearning for purpose, a soul burdened by the weight of mortality. Join us as we explore the epic journey of Gilgamesh, from the heights of arrogance to the depths of despair, and ultimately to the wisdom gained through trials and tribulations. This is the epic story of Gilgamesh, an enduring quest for meaning and the eternal struggle against the inevitability of fate. Let us begin. Long ago, when gods roamed the earth and Mesopotamia flourished with ancient cities, there was Uruk, ruled by a mighty king named Gilgamesh. He wasn't just any king. Gilgamesh was special because his dad was Lugalbanda, a priest king, and his mum was Ninsun, a goddess. This made Gilgamesh a demigod, meaning he was part god and part human. Gilgamesh was no ordinary guy. He was taller and stronger than anyone else in Uruk. Imagine a hero with muscles of steel. His strength came from his divine blood, and he lived a long life, much longer than regular people. But even though he was powerful, Gilgamesh wasn't immortal, which means he could still grow old and one day die. As king, Gilgamesh built temples and massive walls around Uruk. He was really proud of his city and wanted the admiration of all. But sometimes Gilgamesh acted more like a tyrant than a king. He would make his subjects do as he wanted, and even take any girl that caught his eye, even if married. People in Uruk got tired of his tyranny and prayed to the gods for help. The gods heard the prayers of the people in Uruk, and they decided to do something about Gilgamesh. Anu, one of the mighty gods, felt sorry for the humans and asked Aruru, the goddess of creation, to make a special friend for Gilgamesh. Aruru agreed and molded clay into a creature named Enkidu. Enkidu was like no one else. He looked half human and half animal, with horns on his head and a wild, hairy body. He didn't know anything about people and lived out in the wild like an animal. Enkidu ate grass and drank water from rivers, and all the animals listened to him because he was their protector. One day, a temple priestess named Shamat came to Enkidu's forest. She was sent by Gilgamesh to bring Enkidu to Uruk. Shamat wasn't like anyone Enkidu had ever seen, and she showed him what it was like to be a human. Enkidu learned to wear clothes and eat regular food, just like people in Uruk. Shamat spent a week with Enkidu, sharing her company and companionship. After this time, Enkidu's connection with the animals waned, and he found himself distanced from the wilderness that had once been his home. This change was akin to the story of Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden. Enkidu, now aware of human customs, learned from a passing wedding guest that Gilgamesh took young brides for himself on their wedding night. Filled with indignation, Enkidu journeyed to Uruk to confront Gilgamesh and challenge his unjust actions. Upon their meeting, Gilgamesh and Enkidu engaged in a fierce fight, each proving to be a formidable opponent. After their intense battle, they realized they were evenly matched and formed a deep bond of friendship. Gilgamesh then introduced Enkidu to his mother, Ninsun, who recognized Enkidu's lack of family and welcomed him as an adopted son. Enkidu, troubled by Gilgamesh's plan to confront Humbaba, the guardian of the great cedar forest, warned against it. Humbaba was known to be a terrifying and powerful foe, much like the guardian of Eden in the biblical tale. However, Gilgamesh remained determined to undertake this perilous journey. In a heartfelt moment, Ninsun prayed the sun god Shamash to protect her son Gilgamesh and adopted Enkidu as a brother who would watch over him. With their bond strengthened and their resolve firm, Gilgamesh and Enkidu prepared to embark on their epic journey to challenge Humbaba and face the dangers ahead. As Gilgamesh and Enkidu prepared to embark on their perilous journey to challenge Humbaba, the guardian of the great cedar forest, they knew they needed powerful weapons. Giant weapons were cast for the two of them, crafted with care and infused with divine strength. With these formidable tools in hand, they set out on their epic journey, marching with the unmatched pace that would take normal men a month and a half to cover in just 3 days. Each day of their journey they pitched a tent to the dream god, offering their prayers for protection and guidance. Despite their brave facade, Gilgamesh couldn't shake the fear that gripped his dreams each night. However, Enkidu, ever the optimist, interpreted these dreams as auspicious omens, reassuring Gilgamesh and bolstering their resolve. As they neared the towering cedars of the forest, Gilgamesh and Enkidu marveled at their majestic height. Yet their awe was short-lived, as Shamash, the sun god, intervened. Persuading them to seize the moment, Shamash urged them to challenge Humbaba while he was still unprepared, protected by only one of his 7 auras. With the assistance of the 13 winds, Gilgamesh and Enkidu launched their assault, pinning Humbaba down in a fierce battle. However, as they stood over the defeated guardian, a dilemma arose. Gilgamesh hesitated to deliver the fatal blow, torn between his desire to show mercy and his duty to protect his people. Enkidu, on the other hand, remained steadfast in his conviction that they must eliminate the threat to ensure their own safety. Humbaba, sensing his impending fate, pleaded for his life, his cries echoing through the forest. Gilgamesh wavered, moved by Humbaba's pleas, but Enkidu remained resolute. In a moment of desperation, Humbaba cursed Enkidu, his words carrying the weight of ominous consequences, much like the curse of the Cyclops in the Odyssey. Despite the weight of their actions, Gilgamesh and Enkidu pressed on, their friendship tested by the trials of their journey. Little did they know that Humbaba's curse would set into motion a chain of events that would forever alter their destinies. After their victorious battle against Humbaba, Gilgamesh and Enkidu set out to complete their quest by felling the tallest cedar in the forest. With a great effort, they brought down the mighty tree, intending to fashion it into a grand door as an offering to the god Enlil. Returning triumphantly to Uruk, news of their heroic deeds spread far and wide, reaching the ears of Ishtar, the goddess of love. Intrigued by Gilgamesh's bravery, Ishtar sought him out and proposed marriage. However, Gilgamesh, unimpressed by Ishtar's track record of bringing misfortune upon her previous lovers, firmly rejected her advances. Incensed by Gilgamesh's refusal, Ishtar turned to her father, Anu, the sky god, demanding vengeance. Threatening to unleash chaos upon the world by opening the gates of the netherworld, Ishtar coerced Anu into granting her request. With Anu's reluctant approval, Ishtar unleashed the Bull of Heaven, a fearsome creature of divine wrath, upon the city of Uruk. As the Bull of Heaven rampaged through the city, its snorts causing the earth to tremble and vast pits to open up, Gilgamesh and Enkidu sprang into action. With unwavering courage, they confronted the monstrous beast in a fierce battle, determined to protect their city and its people. Despite the overwhelming odds, Gilgamesh and Enkidu emerged victorious, slaying the Bull of Heaven and thwarting Ishtar's vengeful plot. In a bold display of defiance, Enkidu even hurled a part of the bull's body at Ishtar, symbolizing their triumph over divine arrogance. As the journey of Gilgamesh and Enkidu continued, Enkidu was plagued by troubling dreams foretelling their impending doom. In one such dream, he saw the gods convening to punish them by ending his life. Distraught and desperate, Enkidu turned to the door they had crafted for Enlil, seeking solace and guidance. In a moment of despair, Enkidu cursed Shamat, the harlot who had introduced him to the civilization, blaming her for his plight. He envisioned a grim fate for her, where she would be scorned and degraded, forced to wander the highways as an outcast. However, Shamash, the sun god and the embodiment of justice, intervened, speaking up for Enkidu in the assembly of the gods. With Shamash's intervention, the tide turned for Shamat. Enkidu's curse against her was reversed, and instead of scorn and humiliation, she was promised honor and admiration. Princes would pay homage to her, and she would be adorned with precious gifts and jewelry, a stark contrast to the bleak fate he had initially proclaimed. Despite the reprieve granted to Shamat, Enkidu's own destiny remained unchanged in his dreams. He saw himself being dragged to the netherworld, where he languished in sickness for many days before ultimately succumbing to death. And so he did. Overwhelmed with grief at the loss of his beloved friend Enkidu, Gilgamesh's sorrow knew no bounds. He calls upon the wild animals, the river Euphrates, the elders of the city, and even the common folk to mourn the passing of Enkidu. Every corner of Uruk echoes with Gilgamesh's lamentations as he mourns the loss of his dear friend. In a display of reverence, Gilgamesh lays Enkidu upon a grand bed and commissions expert craftsmen to fashion a magnificent statue in his likeness. Days pass as Gilgamesh remains immersed in his grief, refusing to let Enkidu be buried until a maggot falls from his nostril, a sign that decomposition has begun. Finally, when the inevitable decay sets in, Gilgamesh bids farewell to his friend and lays him to rest, allowing him to return to the earth from which he came. With a heavy heart, Gilgamesh embarks on a solitary journey into the wilderness, seeking solace in the untamed lands beyond the city walls. As he wanders the wild, Gilgamesh confronts the harsh reality of his own mortality. Determined to defy fate, he sets his sights on finding Utnapishtim, the immortal sage rumoured to hold the secret of eternal life. Along the way, Gilgamesh faces trials and challenges, including fierce battles with lions that test his strength and resolve. Eventually, Gilgamesh arrives at the Twin Mountains where the sun rises and sets, guarded by the fearsome scorpion men. Undeterred by their warnings of the impossibility of his quest, Gilgamesh presses on, determined to unravel the mysteries that lie ahead. Through a perilous journey through the darkness inside the mountains, Gilgamesh races against time itself, chasing the sun as it sets, emerging just ahead before dawn breaks. In this strange and mystical land where trees and bushes blossom with gemstones, Gilgamesh finds himself on the threshold of a new chapter in his quest for immortality. He then arrives at the edges of the world and encounters Shiduri, a mysterious woman who tends a tavern. Draped in wraps and shawls, Shiduri is initially wary of the wild-looking Gilgamesh. However, he shares his tale of grief, explaining the haggard state he's in due to the death of his dear friend Enkidu. Desperate to find Utnapishtim and uncover the secret of immortality, Gilgamesh implores Shiduri for guidance. Shiduri warns Gilgamesh of the perilous journey ahead, revealing that only the sun god Shamash can traverse the waters to Utnapishtim. Undeterred, Gilgamesh insists on pressing forward, and Shiduri directs him to find Ur-Shanabi, the ferryman for Utnapishtim. In his determination, Gilgamesh confronts the stone beings guarding Ur-Shanabi in a fit of rage, unwittingly destroying his means of reaching Utnapishtim. Confronted by Ur-Shanabi, Gilgamesh shares his tale of loss and longing for immortality. Despite his anger, Ur-Shanabi instructs Gilgamesh to cut down 300 saplings to fashion punting poles for their journey. Together, they embark on a treacherous voyage, sailing through the waters of death, with Gilgamesh using his shirt as a makeshift sail. Their journey leads them to the land of Utnapishtim, where Gilgamesh recounts his heroic exploits and seeks the secret of eternal life. However, Utnapishtim rebukes Gilgamesh, admonishing him for his futile quest. He explains that death is an inevitable part of life, ordained by the gods and cannot be escaped. Undeterred, Gilgamesh listens intently as Utnapishtim recounts the story of the Great Flood, revealing the secrets of survival bestowed upon him by the god Ea. Despite Ea's intervention, Enlil, the instigator of the flood, initially opposes the survival of any humans. However, he eventually relents, recognizing the need for humanity's continued existence. As Gilgamesh grapples with the harsh truth of mortality, Utnapishtim offers him a final chance at immortality, a miraculous plant that grows beneath the earth's waters. Determined to seize this opportunity, Gilgamesh dives into the depths, retrieves the plant, and embarks on his journey with Ur-Shanabi. However, tragedy strikes when a serpent steals the plant, leaving Gilgamesh empty-handed. Despite this setback, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk with newfound wisdom, accepting the inevitability of death. With Ur-Shanabi by his side, Gilgamesh proudly showcases the city walls he once built, embracing his role as king and the profound lessons he learned throughout his epic journey.